So, Tom, it looks like, Qualcomm has gone cold, but I love the line in the story, which is it could rekindle its interest a little bit later and come back for pieces. Of course, this is going to be so important in terms of what kind of regulatory regime we get under Trump 2.
Absolutely. And look, it could come back in a different form. As you say, it could come back if the environment, particularly around the regulatory framework, as you point to, changes, becomes more favourable, because that was one of the key sticking points. So going back to September, we know from our own reporting that they put out feelers, Qualcomm, around a prelim takeover of Intel. That was back in September after that terrible earnings report from Intel and the announcement of those job cuts and those weak forecasts. What we understand now is that on a number of fronts, three main fronts in terms of financial, operations and regulatory, those are the key headwinds. They would face an antitrust process, not just in the US, but also in their key market of China, where both Qualcomm and Intel have a lot of market share at stake. But also in terms of operations, Qualcomm doesn't operate its own foundry. So the chip making, the semiconductor making parts of the Intel business, that would be in a whole new endeavor. And then on the financial front, $50 billion of debt that Intel has that Qualcomm would have had to take on as a result of this potential deal. So you're right. They've called on it for now, according to reporting. They could come back for different pieces of the Intel pie. Maybe if the regulatory winds change, maybe they come back to looking at it in its totality. But those are the three key reasons why Qualcomm have called on this potential takeover.